everybody has their baggage and everybody has their demon. So you might as well deal with your own demon and everything will work out fine. If you're not in control of your emotions will be in control of you. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Emotions. Our topic today is a dysfunctional childhood or a dysfunctional background. And this is such a passionate topic for me because most of you know that I am an emotional coach, and it is amazing the plethora of people who come in for counseling. And you know what? The truth is that we all become where we are coming from. It behooves on us to now say, you know what? This thing is not going to work in this marriage, or this thing is not going to work at this job, or this thing is not going to work in this friendship. You have to be able to see what your background has done to you. Not just for you. Now, if it did something for you, then thank God, and that's okay. But if it did something to you, let's say that it made you become a selfish person. It made you become an angry person. It gave you a victim mentality. It gave you an entitlement spirit, like an entitlement mentality. It made you a very volatile person, a very aggressive person. You know, if you were raised in a home that there was so much aggression, there was so much chaos, your feelings were not validated, you couldn't speak in front of adults, or maybe everything that came out of your mouth was dismissed and ignored. Maybe if you got an A and everybody just looked at you, and so what? Before uncle, they don't even acknowledge that you studied so hard to get that A. You know, if you were raised in a home where beating was to exert control rather than discipline, because there's a big difference. When you're disciplining your child, it's very, very different from when you are exerting authority, which means that you could almost murder your child. You're beating your child to the point that they are bleeding. I used to be a teacher, and there was a day that one of my students came up to me and showed me a razor blade cut that her mother gave her. This was her way of disciplining her, was by slicing and causing her to bleed. That is absolutely ridiculous, and that is dysfunctional. Now, I want you to remember how your mother treated you and how your father treated you in the aspects of when they were absolutely tripping and you knew that they were wrong. Why are you now doing the same thing to your child? We are supposed to get better. Now, I do understand that the way that you were raised is the way that you're probably going to raise your own kids, if not worse. But you can see all the negativity now. You can actually see, you know, how like some of those things are not working for you. They are affecting you. You can see how you are defensive. You can see how you are angry all the time. You can see that there is no bond between you and your child. You can see that all of you, all your family members, everyone is estranged. You can see that, yes, you guys love each other, but there is no relationship. All of that is because you are coming from a dysfunctional background. A dysfunctional background is a background that things are not functioning properly. So, I have a guest with me today who grew up in a dysfunctional home, who his father set his books on fire, who his father told him that he would never amount to anything. This guest, his marriage was completely upside down because he brought those mannerisms from his childhood into his marriage. And he had to go through so much to become the successful man that he has become today. He grew up practically on the streets because his father threw him out of the house. And all of this affected the way that he related with people, the way that he related with his wife, even with his business partners. But now he is a completely changed person, and his wife can attest to that, and that's because I am his wife. So please stay tuned for Omoni Joseph Akomolafe. Welcome back from the break. Today, my topic is on a dysfunctional childhood. Someone who was raised in a childhood that involved a lot of domestic violence, trauma, dismissals, rejection, anger. The house was just chaotic. That's what our topic is on today, and my guest is here with me, who also happens to be my husband. And it's such a privilege that I've watched him evolve from where he's coming from to who he has become. And his name is none other than Omoni Joseph Akomolafe, a.k.a. El Gibor, a.k.a. my man. You are welcome, sweetheart.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you so much for being here today. I just want you to share your story from the standpoint of being raised in a dysfunctional background, and then we would also talk more about how you overcame the adversities of that. I really, really want you to speak on where you're coming from and how that affected you and how you came on the other side. Let's go from there.
Wow, thank you so much. You know, growing up was fun, kind of. But now looking at the home, I remember my elder sisters, every time my dad, he was a military man, and we're living in the barracks. Every time they sounded the trumpet, that's the close of work on that day. What they do, as soon as they see the army guys coming to us home, my elder sisters just go running. Running, even if they must have finished what they were doing, the domestic chore. But what they do is they just go, turn the waters away and go fetch another water. You know why? Because they didn't want our father to meet them like doing nothing. That's the extent of the fear we had for our father. And being raised in such home was really traumatizing, even though we didn't know then that's going to affect the future. Is going to affect the way we relate with people. Like most people growing up in that era and with such parents, they may think there's nothing. I'm just trying to raise my kid the normal way.
Yeah, they don't mean any harm.
They don't mean any harm at all. The way an average or a typical African father or parents would raise their children. And we just feel it's a normal thing, but actually it's not a normal thing. And growing up, it really affected me. It affected my self-esteem. Every time I'm around people, or I was around people, I felt like I was not good enough. Because it's like somebody was there to, tell me you are not good enough. But the words, the what do we call it? All the beatings, as you call it, physical abuse will be ringing. You are not good enough. I know for so many years, I couldn't face people. Even in the class, I wouldn't be able to talk when teachers ask questions. You understand? And I mean, no. And most of the time, I even knew the answer to those questions. But I wouldn't answer. I wouldn't raise my hand. I couldn't speak.
You were timid.
I was timid. And why? Because at home, you were not allowed to talk when the elder ones are talking. You are being shut down, shut up. They don't allow you to talk. You couldn't express yourself. So, when we do this to our kids, such things affect our kids out there. They get easily intimidated. They won't be able to really grow in their field, in whatever they're doing, because they will always feel they're not good enough. They will say, my dad is late right now. But for a very long time, I heard his voice in my head, in my mind, in all I do. It took God, it took me reading to understand that what I was going through was a psychological issue.
Now, would you mind telling us the areas that background affected? I know for one, like at least I am very sure of one. But can you let us know just how dangerous it is to be raised in a toxic environment, actually, to be raised in a toxic home? There was beating in your home, right?
There was beating, verbal abuse, So
and so that our audience will not be confused about beating, and so that it wouldn't be that beating is wrong, but how you are disciplining a child, how you're beating, how did your father beat you, and then the story too about your books.
Oh, okay. Like my dad. Okay, growing up, I used to be a footballer. I loved playing football, and every time my dad would tell me, "I don't want to see you on that field. Don't go to that field." Why my mates are there playing football, and I was a very good footballer. I'm not fitting my horn, but I was a very good footballer. Every time I went to the field, get back home, I get the beating of my life. Like I wouldn't be allowed to speak. I'll be beaten black, blue. You understand? I'll be beaten, and I couldn't express myself as a child. Now, the talking about the books, I've even forgotten. It just reminded me. Now, my dad came home one day. I was not in school, so he asked me why didn't I go to school. The next thing, he didn't even allow me answer him. I was beaten. My books were brought out and burnt.
He set them on fire.
Set them on fire.
He poured
he poured kerosene on them, and he set the books on fire. So such experiences will actually affect you. My dad was a good man, because that was what he knew.
That was all he knew.
That was all. And I believe we still have people out there that were raised this way. Now, the effect of such thing is that as you grow up as a man, you're becoming a man, it affects your relationship with people, even in your marriage.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. How did that affect us from your standpoint?
Yeah, from my standpoint, I felt I was being attacked. I was being attacked. That was the feeling. Even when we're talking,
normal
talk, because it's like I was seeing my father
in me.
You understand me? In my wife, when she talks, I was seeing my father. So I couldn't, relate with what she was saying. It's just like where, like in movies, you just see somebody talking and the person is not seeing the person. Mm-hmm. It's seeing another thing entirely, visually, they bring it out visually, but, in his mind, so I was seeing my father. I was saying, like, you're trying to shut me up. Now I won't take it. You understand? So it affects every area of our life.
So it's like having a victim mentality.
Victim mentality. And coupled with the fact that I had to leave. I had to leave home. I was kicked out of the house at a very tender age. Now in Nigeria, when we talk about Nigeria, being 19, 18 years, sleeping on the street in Lagos. Young. In Lagos, that's very young.
You were in Zaria.
I was in Zaria. I was born in Kaduna. I grew up in Zaria. All right, I grew up in Zaria. I lived in Zaria all my life until 1996. Between 95 and 96, I was young. So 95, 96, I was young. And my mom, God rest her soul, was the bridge between me and my father. Mm. Now, when I was playing football, it wouldn't allow me to go to the field to play. But my mom would tell me, why don't you allow this child? So that means we didn't have fun. Yeah. We were not allowed to express ourselves as other kids were expressing themselves. And in all this, we call it discipline. We call it, to him, he was raising his child. Yes, you are raising your child, but it has, the other way around, you are making your child timid.
And scared.
Scared, yeah.
Growing up with complexities.
Complexities.
But that should also tell us, too, that Baba was probably raised by someone just like that.
Just like that, So if we don't stop it, the pattern will continue. So we have many fathers, married men like me out there that have been raised in such toxic environment, and they don't know why they behave the way they do.
Now, what enlightened you? I do know that we, of course, like we went for counseling and all of that, because like a whole lot of times we, thought that we were tackling an issue with money, or we were tackling an issue with clothing or issue with children, but we were actually tackling the issue of a complex.
And being raised in a toxic environment. And
our home became toxic because of that.
Because of that, yeah.
So where was your turning point? When did you come to yourself? Without our counselors and without me, of course, when did you as Nee sit down and say, come, oh boy, it be like, say that place you they come from, they spoil your...
the turnaround or the turning point until you have what we call an epiphany. You understand me? When you come to that realization that, look, the fact is this, I can't move forward. I can't progress with all this. Now, not just being raised in a toxic home, but I was on the street. Being a street boy. And when we talk about street, you're talking about people that would think, what is in this for me before they do anything for you? So you become a survival instinct. You become self-centered. You become selfish. And all these things affect us, in all ramification, in all we do. So you find that and I just sat down. I remember that, I know the year, that this turnaround started. I sat down and I had to tell myself, God, you need to help me. With these things I have in me, with all the psychological issue I was facing, if I don't get help, and if I don't... Look, getting help is good. We went for counseling and other things. But you must be ready to help yourself.
And you must know what the problem is.
You must know what the...
You must know what the problem is.
I was saying something a few days ago. I told you, I say, look, the moment you realize what your problem is, and not just realizing, acknowledging it, the problem is more than halfway solved.
Yeah.
Then when you realize that, look, I have to place value in every relationship I have. I have to bring something to the table.
Because there was a problem with not being able to give. Because one day I realized that, Omenesa, it's not that this man, because he obviously loves you.
Yeah.
But you had such a problem with being able to give. You couldn't give money, you couldn't give time, anything that involved you giving.
Yeah.
You just couldn't do it.
Because, being raised in such environment, and I said something, being raised in a toxic environment, and now raising yourself on the street.
So it was all about you.
If you're a street person being raised on the street, all you think about is you, and you. You don't think about others. You don't think about their feelings. You just, what is in this for me? That's all you think about. You hurt people. But when you get to that place, you have an epiphany, and you tell yourself, look, it's not going to work for me this way. As you grow older, some of these tricks will not work anymore. They won't work anymore. So you have to get to that place, that turning point, and you tell yourself, I want to be a better man. I don't want to end up like my father. I don't want to raise my children the way my father raised me. I'm going to spank my kids, right? I'm going to do that. So leave America, leave it. I'm going to spank them good if they do the wrong thing. But I'm going to explain to them.
But you're going to spank with reason.
With reason, and I'm going to tell them why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And spank with love.
With love. But I remember my dad, my elder brother, went to the port, and no matter what children do, and when
you report to
yeah, when he came back, my mom reported my elder brother, and my father said, okay, hey, go into the kitchen, those days you couldn't use what do we call it to blend. We didn't have blender. They say go and use this local mortar and ground pepper, fresh pepper. And as the guy was doing it, my father went to the kitchen, locked him in the kitchen, brought out a big what do we call it, no, permit me to use this word, wire, you know, and oh my God, he spanked him, and all the blood, he now took the fresh paper and poured on him. So to him, he was
disciplining him.
And our dad loved us, you understand me? But that wasn't you understand what I'm saying? So growing up, you know, in such an environment, you have so many things dying in you. You understand? So many things dying in you. Your self-esteem, we call it self-worth.
Yeah.
You know, you become timid. You always look at yourself that you are not good enough.
And everybody becomes a threat.
Everybody becomes a threat. You know, but you need to get to a place in your life and you tell yourself the truth. It has to come from you. Counseling is good. Meeting therapists, we did that.
We have met so many.
So many. You know, the only person that can help you is you.
It's you.
You know what I'm saying? It's you. So you get to that place. Because you need to be a better man. You need to be a better woman. Because of your family, because of your children, because of the society. Now,
to be a better person for yourself.
And be a better person, I say, it's you. When you become a better person for you,
you'll be a better person for others.
For others. So that is it. So you got to a place, and I told myself, look, me, this is not, you are more than this.
And what is so awesome is that I personally watched how you were no longer struggling to make money. As a cinematographer now, you have come into your own.
Yeah.
Our company has come into its own.
Yeah.
Our marriage has come into its own. Because you let go of control.
Yeah.
I watched that because it's so ironic. The more you hold on to something, the more you actually lose it.
You lose it, yeah.
You know, and
you can actually gain by giving.
And by being vulnerable.
By being vulnerable. So, and I tell people, look, you are being created for a purpose. And the fact is, for you to achieve the purpose, you need to be free.
Here
from the within and your mind. So, because if your mind is not set free, you are not free.
And everything around you is bound.
Because you look at your wife, when your wife is talking, you'll be looking at your father and your wife. You become very angry when they say, Ekaso in Yoruba, Ekpele. You know, in Yoruba they say, when you greet, it has the female and the male version.
Okay.
Ekpele, Olako, Olabo. That's Yoruba. So when they say, are you doing okay? Now, because of your mindset, because of where you're coming from, who told you I'm not okay?
Are you
trying to tell me I'm not okay? Just
a simple
word. So it's all about our mindset. So if you change your mind,
you change everything.
You change everything. You change your environment. So that's the journey so far.
Thank you so much, honey, for being on this show.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So, you've heard my guest, you've heard my man, and we've told you the hardships that we had in our marriage because of just being raised in a toxic environment, being raised in a dysfunctional home. It really doesn't only affect you, it affects everybody around you. It affects even how you make money. It affects if you make money, how you sustain it. It affects your marriage, it affects your children. And the very person that you said, God forbid, I will never be like this person, you end up becoming worse than that person. So please, if you're somebody who was raised in an environment that you know will not suffice, what makes you think? Really, the fact that you have money and you have a job and you're smiling every day, it may really not mean that you've been healed from that. If you find yourself to be a defensive person, you know, and calamity and trouble is always being attracted to you, that's because that your background has not been taken care of. So let's go ahead and take care of that background now. Tell ourselves the truth, talk to a counselor, and get the past out of you so you can face your future. God bless you for watching as always. Until next time, bye-bye. You will have to jump off a cliff just knowing that you will not crash. baggage and everybody has their demon. So you might as well deal with your own demon and everything will work out fine. If you're not in control of your emotions will be in control of you.
There's just something about speed and simplicity, but that speed and simplicity can be deceiving when you get behind the wheel. 30-year-old Emily sent this text message to her husband: "I love you and I'll try to make you happy." Moments later, Emily was killed when her car slammed into the back of a tractor trailer. 18-year-old